Hello everyone, welcome to my very small YouTube channel about knitting, mostly knitting. My name is Isabelle, I am in France, I have 3 sons and I have 3 cats, and some have said it's related. And I'm filming these videos in English because I miss talking in English so very much. I used to live in the United States, but that was over 32 years ago, and I don't have that many opportunities to be talking in English any longer. So if my regular knitting adventures, what is on my needles, and things like you can find about anywhere else for this type of videos, if that sounds good to you, and if my mistakes and hesitations do not disturb you too much, please stay tuned. So first, what am I wearing today? My green Cozy X by Intermstein that I knit with this very beautiful mohair from the Pyrenees, mohair that I love so much, and I need to take you back again with me on my screen, and I'm gonna show you, sorry, I was at work, I came back home and I put on sweatpants before going back to work just to be more comfortable than in formal pants. So you can see here the little notch that is on the side and the little X that gives the name of the sweater on each side. And yes, I skipped doing the little motif on the sleeves because with the fluffy mohair you've just seen, you don't see the X at all on the sides, so I just skipped it. I made regular raglan increases, and it is a bit too boxy for me on the body. I'm not gonna be ripping out mohair, even though some people say you put it in the freezer and you can rip it out. I'm not gonna do that. So it's more of a sweatshirt than a formal sweater. So I'm gonna knit again with the blue. I have the same Arbizon. I would say it's between sports and worsted weight mohair in blue, and I'm gonna be knitting it again with a slimmer fit and a tighter fit for my on the body. I also am wearing my very beautiful borough hood. So I forgot, maybe I said Cozy X was by Intermstein. So my very beautiful borough hood by Toriu. So I knit that hood that I'm wearing today because it's extremely windy. You may hear the wind, that pressure on the windows, and you may hear my cats running around because they've been out this morning. They came back home before I go teach. I let them out again, and they've been all in, asking to be in and out because it's too windy and too rainy today. So they want to go in and out, and I'm just gonna ignore Onyx, who's been asking the most to go out because he's coming in and out of the house. He wants to be out, but it's not a weather that is good enough for him. So as they are self-confined, or I confine them into the house, they are quite excited right now, and they have been running around everywhere. So the borough hood that one of Lovely Use sent me the yarn for, I made it with Bichebuche Le Petit Lamb's wool that I paired with Bichebuche Le Petit Silk mohair. Both are in the color dark blue turquoise. It's a perfect fit for me right now because with the very heavy wind, when it rains, I keep the hood under my coat, but with the wind I put it on my head and it helps me stay really warm. So yes, that's what I'm wearing on today, and we are going to move next to what I'm working on. So you may recall, last time I had just casted on the Highland Three Souls sweater by Caroline Holbrook. The pattern was a gift from Amy Palco from the Meaningful Stitch YouTube channel here on YouTube, and she had a giveaway for, I'm not sure I recall which reason, and I won. That's the only the first and the only time I won something, and so she gifted me with the pattern and a very lovely pouch by the Cocoon Tree. So I casted on the Highlands Three Soul sweater with this yarn by Lena West, Fleur de Sel, which is a sports weight. So it's totally off gauge compared to the pattern gauge, which is made with fingering weight yarn. And so I have this big cone, 1 kilogram of yarn, and I was so excited to be knitting on, and I had a lot of stress. So last time I had just made the ribs and maybe a few rows after the ribs. And not only have I divided for the sleeves, but I have a full body. I need to cast the sleeves on. A delightful full pattern, a delightful yarn. I love it. It's really rustic yarn, and I will attach here the video from last week where I talk about the yarn and the sheep breed that make this yarn. This yarn is local to me from Normandy. And so after the ribs, you need a few short rows to raise the back. So you see there is a bit more fabric here with the before the first motif rather than in the front, so it sits a bit better on the shoulders. And then you have this little lace pattern. Then you need the little thistles that are really fun to knit with a motif. And wrap stitches, I just love wrap stitches. The other day I was wearing my Madeleine sweater, as it's called. I was wearing it. It has short sleeves as a vest, and the Madeleine sweater has a wrapped motif. I have made also a wrapped motif on my trendy little scarf, and I really love wrap stitches. So you can see. When I block it, I guess it's going to be opening and you will see it much better. So the thistles with a little lace motif just below and a brick wall or something like that just underneath. Then once you've done that, you separate for the sleeves, and then you just cruise along for the body. So as I was completely off gauge, I casted on for size 2, which is 90 something centimeters for the body. So I casted on size 2, and I knit the yoke for size 2. At some point, when I separated for the sleeves, I was a bit afraid that the body was going to be a bit too big. You see, if I stretch it a bit, it does stretch a lot. I think I'm gonna, when I block it, it's gonna grow both on both sides. Thing is, I'm concerned, and I'm always afraid about the previous sweater that was too big, in my opinion, to me, for formal type of sweater. It's perfect for loose house sweater, but not for what I wanted to do. So I made several modifications. The first modification I made is after the motif you have several rounds, and also during the motif several rounds of increases. So I did not need the last increase. I did not increase for the last round. So that brought me back on the stitch number for the first size. So that's one thing. So I need the first size for the body once I was there. And as I was also off for my row gauge, I just tried it on and decided whenever I was going to separate for the sleeves. The second modification I made is that I made decreases on the sides. So I decreased one, what I forgot to say, there is a very lovely fake seam motif that you knit as you go, and I decided to make a bit of a diminution on the side. So I decreased one stitch on each side of the fake seam motif every fourth row for 3 times. So each row I decreased 4 stitches, and I made that 3 times. Yes. So that's Ramses, my baby cat. And then I increased back, I made one row of one repeat of 4 rows without doing anything. Then I increased again. So that there is maybe a more fitted waist line. And the other modification I made is that I bound off, a bit like the Cozy X. I liked the idea of having a little notch on each side, so I bound off 3 stitches. So the one from the fake seam and 1 stitch on each side. And I knit the front and the back ribs separately, so that you have a separation between the front and the back ribbing. Okay, he's on his place above the table. So yeah, that's what I did. And you see there is a lot of room for growing both in width and in length. And I think once I block it, the motif will appear much better. And it will be absolutely beautiful, if I may say so. I'm very impatient to have to wear it, so that's why I did rush into knitting that. And it's a very beautiful pattern. It's very well written. Even though I made many modifications, it was easy to decide what to modify and how to modify it. Make the calculations again was no problem. So yes, I do encourage you to try to buy this pattern and knit it. It goes with that yarn very well. The original is in a gray color, if I remember correctly. This one is more between brown and gray, and it's undyed yarn, so it's the natural fleece colors that are all mixed together to get that particular color. And even though the yarn is very rough, some parts, when I knit, some parts are extremely soft. So I think that once I've soaked it into the water, it will be very soft. So I will have plenty left to do additional sweaters, or there is a shawl I want to make with the white creamy one. So yeah, that's probably what I'll do as for shawl once my next work in progress is going to be finished. I'm not sure which sweater I'm going to choose to be knitting after that one. We'll see. Anyway, I hope that, maybe I should not say anything. I hope by next time I'm going to be finished with that one. And I forgot to say, but you may have noticed already, I put my stitches on hold on the barber cords, which it's extremely convenient, I think, to try on, because you can once you cast on the stitches, I tried with the cord on before I decide how many stitches I cast on. And so with the width of the cord, once you know you can place your knot and decide if the number of stitches you are casting on is good enough or not, in particular if you're knitting off gauge, as I do. And it's quite convenient to be trying it on as you need for the sleeves. I have to say, with a sticky yarn like this one, when I was trying it on the body, I was just adding a regular cord on my needles with a little connector, so that I can try it on, because with sticky yarn, I think the barber cords are sticking to the stitches, and if you are not careful and not pull on the cord of it can go off the needles. And it happened quite a few times already. So now when I try on a large number of stitches, I add another cord with the connector. Okay, so that's my Highland thistle sweater. Okay, next is my rainforest canopy shawl. That Rosemary, once again, Rosemary gifted me with the pattern and the yarn and some other yarn. Beautiful other yarn. So I'm just cruising along. I have knit one plain garter motif, and I'm on the next lace motif. Everything is going fine. I am careful with my stitch count and my stitch markers so that I do not repeat the mistake I made the other one. That was, I had one stitch. Where is it? Where are you? Mistake. Where are you? Mistake. Where are you? I don't even find it again. You see? I don't even see it again. Anyway, there is a mistake somewhere, and all my lace was one stitch off. It's almost not visible. A perfect color. I'm sure it's gonna go very well with the green, because if you can see maybe here, you see that they are in the purple fades or shades. There are some green shades here too, and it goes very well. So I'm very impatient to be wearing the shawl, to finish it, even though I was as impatient to knit on the Highland thistle sweater. So I did not have too much time to be knitting, so I had to make choices and decide on which one I was going to work on. I could not say, for example, I'm going to work 1 or 2 hours that night on the sweater and 1 or 2 hours on the shawl. No, I did not. Some nights I did not even knit at all because of my schedule that's completely off. So yeah, this one is also cruising along. That's I have another whip that I'm not going to be talking about because for several months now it's been in the same state. But I have decided that once the rainforest canopy shawl is done, I will go back to my gingham caul. Double layer gingham. It's a very difficult, it's not a difficult pattern, but it's a very difficult knit. So I will go back to that as an accessory, and I will only knit on that one until it's done. So, or until I decide. I've been considering ripping it out and doing something with the yarn. So for the moment, I haven't decided to rip it out, and I want to get back to it and knit on it once the rainforest canopy shawl is finished. So that's all for today. 2 active whips, one that is waiting for my attention, that I want to be working on, but once these two ones are finished. And I'm going to be talking a bit about some life updates, if you will. And I know some people are not at all interested into that. So if you are not interested at all into my my rambling about my life or some parts of my life, and I thank you very, very much for being here with me. And I hope I will see you at another time. Now that we have said that, some life updates and why I have been so busy. You know that there have been a lot of protests in France regarding the law about the retirement, changing the age of the retirement. So it's been voted now. People are extremely mad, and more people are getting even more violent on the streets every night. The consequences on my own work at the university is that I would go teach at 8 o'clock in the morning, some days when my classes started at 8, and with my students, and we would, as anyone else, find the doors that had, trash cans and chains and stuff that people had blocked the university. So we would wait for 15 minutes, half hour, and we would have a notification that the university is officially closed that day. We've been doing that on and off. Some days I could teach, some days I could not. The days I could not teach, I have to teach again that same class at another time, on another day. And this week is my week where every class I had missed and my students had missed are jam-packed into the week. So for example, yesterday I was teaching from 9 in the morning to 8 at night. And this morning I started at 8 again with the same students that were up to 8 at night last night. So I said, okay, we can just stay here for the night, party here, order pizza. They did not want. Why did they not want to do that with me? But anyway, the change in schedule and trying to find new times to be teaching, and not knowing what is going to be happening the next morning. From my own very small perspective, from my own very small window with the students, have been very disturbing. In particular, not knowing if the university is going to be closed or open on the next day. Last Wednesday, when we went at 8 o'clock and found the door blocked, and I had set up my 8 o'clock class online, and my students were asking me to do that, and I was very fine to be doing this. The administration called me and said, we see you have scheduled your 8 o'clock class online. You can't do that on your own without asking us. Okay. So I answered, okay, but tomorrow morning we won't be able to teach. And they said, we have had no information about the university being closed or not. So you have to go back to come tomorrow at 8 to teach. And you have to tell your students that they have to be here. When we knew last Wednesday was a huge day for protests, we knew it was not going to happen. So I had organized to teach online. My students were happy to be doing that. And we had to go at 8, find the door closed, and schedule another time to be teaching that class. It was last night from 6 to 8. It's very disturbing to me. I don't understand that. So, and my students either. So that's one very small part from a very small and personal window. I do agree that the law is not good for most of the people, and in women in particular. When the government talked about this law at first, I think they did not anticipate some of the side effects of the law, and some journalists and some people in unions studied some parts of the law and said women with interrupted careers are going to be receiving even less money than they are today, and some other part of the society also. And the government had to adjust the talking. So my aftertaste is as if this law was not thought through. I'm not saying that it's not necessary. I'm not a politician, and I'm not an economist, and I'm not a specialist of the retirement plans and how we can model what the retirement situation will be 10, 20 years from now. So maybe it was necessary. Some people question that and say that we won't have as big of a deficit as the government has said we are going to be having. So not everyone agrees on the numbers, and so the government talking changed over time as if they had not thought through the whole thing, and people have been chewing on that and fueling the protests on these points where the government is a bit shaky on their language and what they are saying. So yes, 2 days ago the law got passed, and there was what we call motion de censure. I will try to find the English name for that. That the parliament had 2 different texts that were challenging the law. I'm not sure how it's called in English. And these 2 texts were rejected by 9 votes on 500 more people in the parliament. 9 votes. If these texts were approved, the government was out, and the president would have had to form a new government, to get a new government. So that 9 votes. So last night people were extremely angry in most of the city's streets, and tomorrow is going to be another huge day for protests. I was supposed to be in Paris, so we are having our meeting online only. Last week I was supposed to go also to another part, to Dijon in France, so I cancelled. The meeting took place for 2 days, but people could not attend, so we had a link to follow the meeting and interact with the people online. Good. And I'm not sure what's going to be happening next. We are not sure if on Friday we'll be able to go teach. I don't have any class tomorrow, so in some way that's a bit of a personal relief. And this morning some parts of my own small city were blocked by people spontaneously blocking some main entrances into the city. So with a few trucks and a few cars, you block 1 or 2 of the entrances, and the whole traffic is jam-packed everywhere else because people try to go around it, and it blocks the whole city by itself. So what I'm seeing is that the protests become more and more spontaneous, more and more outside of union organizations. that say, okay, we are going to be marching on the street that day at that time, and the march is going to follow that track. And the police and everything approve the march, and people go marching on that and police are before, after, on the sides. And if you can march that way without any other thing that you say you protest and you are not agreeing on this or that the government does. Right now, all of this is happening on it by itself. The social networks, people organize on the social networks and say, we are blocking that part at that time, and go. So there is no formal organization, there is no formal people who are setting sort of the rules and the tone of the protests, and they blew up. And the word is, we are going to burn everything. So this is why you may have seen pictures of fires on the streets, because the word is that. So in particular in Paris, where garbage trucks are on strike, so there is a lot of garbage and a lot of trash cans, and they lit up all of that. And so the word is, we won't stop before everything has been burned down, which is kind of, I'm a bit concerned with that type of word. So we'll see what's going to be happening. On a lighter note, my cats have been quiet right now, even though I said they were running over everywhere. On a lighter note, last week, they were running everywhere, chasing each other, and I have my router that is on a whatever type of furniture, it's on top of it, and the cables go behind. And I think the lady who cleans the house had moved the furniture to clean behind, which is good for her. And I did not notice she had not placed the furniture back in place. The cats went chasing each other behind, got caught into the cable, the rotor went woo, and landed on the one piece of connection in the wall where the fiber comes into my room. I got a picture. I'll try to place it right now. So the fiber was disconnected, ripped out, and so I called. It was at night, so I called my how do you call that? Orange. It's Orange that gives me my internet provider. I called my internet provider, and so I was with an automatic machine on the other end, and they said, have you done this? Have you done that? Did you restart your router? I said yes, even though I knew the router was upside down and I had disconnected everything. And I was just hoping the router was okay. And so I said, yes, I've tried and it doesn't work. So the machine said, okay, we are going to be performing a few tests. They did the test. They said, oh, it's not working. No, it's not working. And so they scheduled, it was on a Wednesday night, they scheduled for a technician to come to my house the Saturday morning. In the meantime, they gave me 200 gigabytes of internet on my phone so that I can share my connection, and that's their process. I did not ask for it. That's their process. So I could do my 2 online days, full days on that internet connection. And on the morning, the guy came and fixed everything, and I have internet again. You know, damn cats. my cats. So yeah, so that's a bit of a lighter note, and I will end up on that note. I'm not going to be talking about my mother. That's also always in my mind, and there have been better things, less better things. So maybe I will talk another time later on. Okay, so well, I thank you a lot for having been listening to me and all my ramblings, and have been, for staying with me up to now. I thank you very much for that. I do hope that your knitting, that you can hang on to your knittings, and that your knitting brings you joy and happiness, in particular where everything seems to collapse around you, and that you can hang on to that every stitch that can be some little bit of sparks of joy and happiness and light into your life. And I can assure you that all the conversations that we have down below my videos are bringing me so much joy. I thank you for being here with me, and yeah, I hope I will see you next time.